Math 122 for week 3 homework. Let's check out our first video on simple interest. If you've gone to course documents, well, hopefully you've also gone to Problems a Week, posted there, a little public service reminder. But if you've gone to course documents and downloaded the homework, check out this is your question number 1. Investment, interest, and I leave it in the bank for a certain time. You're going to solve those numbers. I'll solve these numbers. Slightly different, but you'll see the method and you'll get it solved. Course lecture notes mention this formula in terms of solving a simple interest problem. The interest you earn is equal to the P times R times T. P stands for principal, the money I start with. And how do I know I started with? Investment, that's the money I'm putting in the bank. So that goes in my formula right there, straight away. Now, the next number, my percentage, is an R value, the rate. So I'll take that 2.4, and I'm not going to put it in right away because, and I hope that we've gone through this somewhere in your mathematical history, to turn a percent into a decimal, we need to take the dot and move it 2 times to the left, and that extra spot is going to get filled in with a 0. So my percent is actually going to look like this when I put it into the equation. The last number, the T is going to stand for years, is time. Put it right in, and thank you, calculator. Tap it in, and I can say my interest equals $710.4, which would be 40 cents in this case. So let's dress it up and make it look like money. And then read the question real carefully. I solved the interest, congratulations, but I'm looking for the total money. Well, total means, guess what? Started with 37, and I add on the interest, and now I have a final answer, and that's that. So the calculation, I think, is going to be very straightforward, but make sure you give me that final answer labeled, the total answer as well. Number 3 on the homework. There will be another video coming later on questions 2 and 4, which are compound interest, but right now, video 1, simple interest. You saw number 1, number 3. You've got a problem talking, it looks a lot similar. I have a money, I have a percent, I have a years. However, I'm talking about the final amount now, not the beginning. So we're going to have to, well, first of all, I'm going to switch up the numbers. You'll solve it with those. I'll solve it with these numbers. But since I'm giving you the final amount, when we're using this equation, we've got to be careful because none of those letters represent the final amount of my money. Let's take it step by step and see how things are going to fall into place. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the percent. That doesn't change. We know how to do that. We take the 2%, we move the decimal 2 times, fill in that spot with 0, put it in the equation. All right. I'm skipping P because that is not my principal. That's my final amount. 30 months, that sounds like time, so shouldn't I put it in? Think real carefully why you're going to divide it by 12. Hint, 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 months. So keep that in mind. Now, before we talk about this P and talk about the I, look at this. These are all numbers. Let's just type in the calculator, 0.02 times 30 divided by 12. You can get that solution. So I'm sort of solving halfway through. Now, things are going to get interesting. Pay close attention, but this is only number 3 do you need to do this little extra step. We know the interest formula here, but we want the final amount, 3,000. And we know this. We know the total amount or the final amount is 3,000. And we know that how did we get the final amount? We got the principal plus the interest. Right? We started with some number. I don't know what we started with. And then we add on the interest, and then we're going to get 3,000. So you solve this with the percentages, and this is just, I want to say the common sense might be a little strong of a word, but this is just the progression of money. I start with P, and I get the interest. And I'm going to combine these. What am I going to do with that I? I'm going to take that I, and I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to take this first equation and plug it into the second. And you're going to get left with something looking like this. Now, what do we need to do? We need to dress this up a little. One thing math people like to do, we need to take numbers and put them in front of the letters. So I kind of scrambled these numbers right here. And then if I just have a letter like this, I actually want to put, I say there's 1p here. So this number right here turns into 0.05p, and this p turns into 1p. How am I going through this? Obviously, you can rerun the video and check out how I combined the 2 equations. But when you combine them, you have 2 different p's. One turns into 1p, and the other turns into this percentage part. Now I can put them together. How? 1.05. One more time, I can go back and forth. I can say, wait a minute, there's 1p and there's 0.05, so together I have 1.05p. And I'm going to stop right here, but the very last step in this process would be just, if I want to get the p, the principal, which is starting amount, all you need to do at this point is divide. A lot of work going on in question number 3. You need to take 2 equations and combine them, and then divide in the final step. But walk through those steps, and obviously I'm going to be a resource. Any questions you can run by me. And also, check on Blackboard. I put an announcement for online tutoring if there's further questions. Check that out. Any questions, run them by me.